Jeffrey Combs marathon.
Yeah, a marathon. I mean, when you talk about Jeffrey Combs, he's prodigious in that he loves Lovecraft, and he's a perfect fit for it.
Yeah.
And now we go to the one he's most identified for. The story of syringes, green goo, resurrection, death. We're talking about the Re-Animator.
Yep.
And this is a movie that I've seen a few times, and everyone that I know, when you talk about, the Re-Animator, it's a classic.
Right.
And there's some part of me that it's not that I don't buy it, but I think there's better stuff.
That's hard to say, and not that I disagree with you. The Re-Animator has a lot of polish compared to, say, From Beyond.
From Beyond, yeah.
It's quite obvious that a lot of money went into this.
A lot of money, but it all kind of starts with the tone of the movie. And if the tone is right, you can work with a small budget and deliver, or you can have a big budget and really knock it out of the park. But what we have here is an instance of horror comedy, which in my mind is one of the hardest things to pull off.
I think it's tough to do, because you always run the danger of not being scary enough or not being funny enough.
And when you walk that line, especially with a genre like horror, it's so easy to disappoint. And it's probably one of those things like action comedies are easy to pull off because action is inherently funny. People getting hurt is funny. But watching people...
Just make a whole movie of people falling down stairs.
Yeah, pretty much. Or shots to the groin. But when you talk about something as intimate as psychological horror...
Oh, yeah, that's true.
It's hard to find the funny in that.
I suppose that. Look at that mental patient there.
Yeah, isn't he having a rough day of it? But for anyone that hasn't seen The Re-Animator, it deals with a doctor.
Basically a rogue student, played by Jeffrey, who...
Man, Jeffrey just doesn't play by any rules,
No,
does
he kind of makes it up as he goes along. He doesn't play by anyone's rules, not even his own. And the whole thing is, the movie starts out with tragedy, where some mysterious thing happened off in a European university, and Jeffrey was... Well, actually, Herbert West. Herbert West was directly responsible for this. Someone had died.
A calamity.
A calamity had befallen him. And he was kicked out of Europe, I believe.
Yeah, he was like exiled,
He ended up in the one place that would take someone like that, Miskatonic University.
The name that keeps popping up.
Yeah.
It's a university in very, very shady terms only. It's a collection of rogues and people with strange ideas, and I don't know where Miskatonic bankrolls everything, but they're getting some stuff done with Herbert West.
I know from, just as a small aside, their library in Lovecraft's writings, they have a copy of the Necronomicon.
Well, yeah, that's probably their charter almost.
Yeah.
It's where most of what their branch of learning stems from, so they better have a first edition.
Yeah. But the main story is Herbert West is kind of obsessed with the idea of immortality, and he has spent years working on the reagent, basically, which is like a fluorescent green goo that you inject into a dead body, and it brings them back to life, but it never brings them back
completely correctly.
Yes, you're living, but do you want to be alive,
Not only that, it's not like they bring them back and it heals them, like they're necrotic.
No.
Basically, it's a zombie serum.
Basically, yeah. It gets you moving again, but, they injected it into his roommate's cat.
Yeah.
Who had a broken neck, broken back, or something like that. And yes, it was going. It was wiggling around on the table, so it's like, I don't know if you want me to bring me back from that.
No. It's one of those things that, getting reanimated like that would be, I would say, a fate worse than death. because there's no guarantee you're actually yourself. Though even in this movie, they do exhibit signs of, remembering who they were.
Yeah,
that's remembering the people in their lives, but has such a very slim grasp on the life you had. That it's an interesting subject. It really is, and they never really push that side of it too far beyond the relationship of a doctor and his daughter. And
she's the daughter everyone wants to get with.
Yeah, everyone wants to get with, and they'll do whatever they can to get with her. And everyone is starting to betray each other because the secret of the formula isn't out yet.
Right.
And people want to have dibs on the rights to it almost. And there's people that want to use not weaponize it. What's the word I'm looking for?
Make money on it.
Yeah, capitalize on it.
Capitalize on it.
And it starts a whole bunch of skullduggery.
Yeah.
And people backstabbing each other, and scientists and injecting scientists with this stuff, and relationships are starting to go afoul. And what I don't know what the end goal is. How do you come back from this catastrophe?
Well, it's medically speaking, this is a miracle, and you're gonna make money off of it, and like the head guy, the head of the Miskatonic University, basically medical research division, says, okay, young Herbert West, you're screwed because you work for me. And nope, he gets his head cut off, and then he gets stuck with a reagent and stuff like that. And
the old head in a bag trick.
Don't get me wrong, this film has a lot going for it. It has better effects.
I'd say consistent effects, yeah. Like there's no weak effects.
So yeah, there's nothing weak about it. There's very good makeup and very good.
It is a high point of the movie.
Yeah, it's a total high point, but I think it falls kind of flat on the comedy portion of it, because there's a few things that'll give you a chuckle, but nothing more than that.
But don't expect like an Army of Darkness style comedy
No.
where there's a big laugh every 10 minutes or so. It's a very dark. I would probably classify it as dark humor more than a horror comedy.
Yeah.
Because it's not uproarious laughter or anything like that.
No.
A few smiling moments, but don't you get that in most horror movies? A few select moments where you chuckle at the insanity of it and the outrageousness of it.
Yeah. Would you call Ghostbusters a horror comedy?
No.
It's just a comedy?
It's a supernatural action movie. Mainly because a lot of people seem to remember Ghostbusters as an uproariously funny movie. I don't really remember it like that.
Well, we've talked about Ghostbusters in the past, and that movie actually kind of scares me, even now.
Yeah,
but
I think with a little tuning, you could take a movie like Ghostbusters and turn it very serious.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't take much. And I think the Re-Animator falls into that zone too, where it doesn't walk the line very carefully at all. It kind of verges here and there, and it's a little inconsistent, but I think it could have benefited from being a more serious movie.
Okay. I guess the best way to put it is Jeffrey Combs is a serious actor.
Oh, he's like classically trained.
Yeah, and it's not right for him to be here. Okay, though this is his wheelhouse. It's not written for him, I don't think.
No,
because From Beyond was a really good movie. It took itself very seriously, and this is kind of where I don't know if it's the first, but it's the one I'm most familiar with of a Lovecraft story kind of getting a little goofy.
Yeah.
It's totally it doesn't quite match the source material,
but I think a lot of its legacy comes from being probably the most visible of all of these, I guess, the subgenre of Lovecraftian horror.
Mm-hmm.
And it gets a big pass from a lot of people, and I understand it. I'm not knocking the film. I enjoyed the Re-Animator quite a lot, but you kind of look at it and wonder what could have been, or does it even belong? Does Lovecraft need comedy?
Possibly, because the material is it can be a little dry. And
I think by nature it's a necessity for it to be very dry and intellectual. There's no. I'm going to say it's hard to fit in. The bathroom humor, the crude jokes.
Yeah, because
stuff like that.
It's like in this movie there's this scene where the doctor that's just a head. He's attached himself to a body and he's kind of going around. And he's got, what was it, Barbara Crampton again?
Yeah, Crampton again.
She's strapped down to a table nude, and he pulls his own head off and starts going down on her.
Yeah, just right up in between her legs.
I don't know if that's necessary. It wasn't necessarily funny.
It's definitely, perverse and shocking.
Mm-hmm.
You get a laugh out of kind of the just the shock chuckle just because of the awkwardness of it.
Mm.
But yeah, there's room to do stuff like that, but you can pull that off with a serious tone and still get the same laugh in my mind.
But this movie does a lot well because everything that is technically the technical parts of this movie are actually really good. If I had to rate this movie, I'd give it a half thumb up.
A half thumb up, maybe a severed thumb,
maybe
reattached.
With a reagent.
Yeah, so it's not completely
I'm not
up,
really
but it's
controlling
there.
this thing,
It's mostly up.
But yeah, it's worth your time.
Certainly, it's as like the most visible Lovecraftian entry that we've reviewed so far. Yeah, it's definitely worth a look, if nothing but for Jeffrey Combs alone.
Yeah.
Our savior, and the guy that's going to bring us out of this, because I don't think we're quite done yet. But this rogue scientist from Miskatonic, in whatever permutation he chooses to come in and save us in, thank you, because it's been a joy watching Jeffrey Combs movies.
Yeah.
Save us!
This guy.